What is up, everybody? My name is Sarah.
My name is Eve.
And this is Burnt Out Perfectionist. Today, we will be talking. It's almost like a letter, like what our aspirations were when we were 18 years old and how they have changed since then.
Just a quick reference. Yours was about, 19 years ago?
I don't know. I was born in 86. I'm bad at math. Let me get my calculations out here.
Well, you graduated in 2004. So you were 17 or 18?
I was 17 when I graduated.
So 2009, 23 minus 9 is
19.68 years ago. I think I did something wrong.
all you had to do was your age minus 18.
I'll be 37 this year, minus 18. Yeah, it is 19.
I don't know how you got 19 points.
I think I just took away 18 from 1986.
And mine wasn't 4 years ago. And just talking about reflecting on it, because it's June. Everybody's graduating. They're starting their new lives.
I think the first thing I want to say is when somebody asks you the question, what do you want to be when you grow up, and tell the person a better question to ask. What are you going to do in the next bit? Or what's your first goal? Because what are you going to do for the rest of your life is the most convoluted, ridiculous question on the face of the planet. Because I think on average, when we looked it up last time, somebody will change their careers before they turn 50 an average of 5 to 6 times. So that's moving fields. So say if you start in sales and you end up in, I don't know, engineering. Let's just throw a random one out there. So say you started out working in clothing stores while you were at school, and then you swap, you go to school and you're doing engineering. So that's kind of where we're aiming at, just to prove how a life will work in all of the mysterious ways.
So Sarah.
Yes.
When you were 18 in 2005, what did you think you were going to do?
Okay, so I had a plan because I was one of the kids who was asked in kindergarten, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I thought about this really long and really hard. And I really wanted to be a police officer. I wanted to be a police officer my whole life. I would go to all of those extra courses that they would offer elementary school kids and high school kids. I was part of the anti-drug program at my high school. I was part of the DARE program, which is a terrible acronym. Drug Abuse Resistance Education.
Wow.
Most kids are dared to get high. So I don't think the acronym was hitting at that time. Also, I don't like acronyms in general. But yeah, I did all that stuff. I memorized all the things. I never, to this day, have done recreational drugs. Did I drink underage? Once. And that was at wet grad or whatever at my friend's parents' house where my dad also attended. And then when I was in grade 12, I went to this course over spring break at one of the RCMP detachments where you got to meet all the different delegations of the RCMP. And I was really excited because there was a bunch of different ones. There's everyone who does the water sweeping, the marine sweeping. There was coroners there. There was all of these different folks. And they're like, oh yeah, you're interested, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah. So I was so excited. I went through this whole thing. It was kind of boring, but I understand because obviously there's a lot of emotional aspects that go into that job and a lot of things you kind of crush down. And I remember they were like, oh yeah, so we can totally tell you the likelihood of you being hired for the RCMP. And I was like, oh, because I am a Caucasian female. That was a bonus, apparently. I was like, oh, sweet. Because a lot of females still to this day do not apply for the RCMP. It's still limited. And then they asked the best question in the entire world. Do you have asthma? And I said, yeah, I've had it my whole life, but it's controlled by everything. And they're like, yeah, unfortunately, they probably won't even consider you. And I was devastated. Somebody who was an RCMP who helped with the recruiting told me this to my face. I was willing to get pepper sprayed at fucking academy in Saskatchewan. I was willing to do all of that stuff. The positioning that they used accompanied with that. And then there was additional follow-ups. I can't remember the exact same things. It just completely knocked me off track. I was like, I don't know if I even want to do this anymore. And then I was like, well, maybe because I was going to go to one of the universities to do their criminology program. So that way I had more of a background and stuff. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? So I continued to work my merry way at Dairy Queen, which I loved. And then we moved to where we are now. And I started going to college for like general studies to like figure stuff out. There was a shittery of stuff that happened just because it wasn't even me. It was like they put me in the wrong class. I got put into pilots geography. I wasn't even part of the pilots program. There was like 2 or 3 of us that were put in there. And then I just kind of didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I started doing like retail jobs and stuff like that just to like have something to do and slowly figure out what I wanted to do with my life.
Was there like any aspects of your life that like it was influenced that you wanted to be a cop, or you were just like, I won't be a cop?
So our dad's cousin was a police officer, was an RCMP, and he was always really great and would tell me all the stuff that they can't tell you, but he was always extremely, extremely encouraging. Like, I think you would be great. You're very like disciplined. You understand rules. You appreciate rules. And you have the caring aspect of like, I'm doing this for a purpose. But also like, you can happily take shit and just be like, well, that's the way you see it, but this is the law. I remember going to like Remembrance Day ceremonies and they would be there. Same with a lot of like the veterans and stuff like that, which we have some veterans that were in our family, obviously, before they passed away. And I just really loved kind of that aspect and like the structure behind it and helping people. That was a big thing for me.
Did, other than the career that you thought you wanted, was like, what did you think your life would be like?
Oh, I had that super unrealistic view. So our parents got married when they were like 21 years old. And I came along when they were like 22. And I thought my life would run exactly the same way. Like I would just randomly meet somebody, or it would be somebody that I'd like known for a long time. And then, you know, romantic comedies, how they just break your brain. And I thought I would be at least married and have 1 kid by the age of 25. So when I was like 25 years old, oh my God, like I'm having so much fun and doing all of these things, but like I'm falling behind. Meanwhile, like there was maybe 1 or 2 other people in my life who had already done stuff like that. But like a majority of people are doing the same thing as me, having fucking fun and building careers in a way in which we were taught was the correct way to build a career.
What advice would you give 18-year-old Sarah?
Calm the fuck down. You don't need to figure out what the hell you're doing with the rest of your life right now. Figure out the first step that you want to take or anything that you're super interested in. Don't go to college right after high school if you don't have something specific that you want to do just because you think it's the right thing to fucking do.
Do you think 18-year-old Sarah would be proud of 36-year-old Sarah?
I think she would be like, oh, wow, you waited till you were like 30. Like I had a 10-year-long career at a large communications company. I worked my ass off and did really well there. And then I helped take care of or support our brother, who is an adult with autism. And
You just said an owl with autism.
I know my nose kind of plugged up. Which then allowed me to support and take care of my kid until she went to kindergarten. I worked at another big e-commerce platform, have a lot better like work-life balance and stuff like that. I think that would be another thing that I would like tell 18-year-old Sarah is like, it's a job. It's not a family. It's not a life. Like you shouldn't live to work. You should work to live, which is so cheesy sounding. But like I went in with like a very, I guess like older set mindset where I was like, oh, well, I need to do this and this is how I'll get this. And then there were certain times where I just like wouldn't get promotions or wouldn't get other things. So I'd be offered other opportunities. And then like mom and dad would be like, they're offering you other opportunities. Like you're not just sitting in the same job. Like you need to recognize that. And they would be like, stop. Like, I think you need to stop being so hard on yourself, because I would be like, oh, I didn't get that like supervisor job again or whatever. And they're like, yeah, but you're doing all these other things. Like you probably would have been bored. It was probably a favor that they did to you. Like, would you really wanted to manage all these people and stuff? And I think that's the whole thing is like, even when I look back now, I'm like, holy shit, look at all the opportunities I had that were like given to me. I didn't have to apply for stuff. They're like, hey, we need you over here. Hey, we need you over here. And I was like, okay, why not? But yeah, so there is that. What other questions do you have?
Okay, my next question is for you, Sarah. What level of financial success did you envision achieving at the age of 18?
Oh, at the age of 18, that I would own a house by the age of 28.
Which just would like to preface, she does not.
No, I don't own a house, which is funny now because I literally give zero fucks about ever owning one because all I see is people who own houses getting fucked over constantly in Canada with the interest rates and all the other stuff.
Are you currently reflecting off of all of the stuff that you thought you would do at the age of 18? Are you glad that you did it?
Oh, yeah, I would never go back and change anything. Everything led me to where I am today. I don't believe in being like, oh, I wish that I did blank with blank and then I would be a multi-millionaire. Like,
That sounded really sexual.
yeah.
I wish that I did it.
But that's the whole thing is like, there's so many things where people are like, oh, I wish I knew more about, I'll throw one other, NFTs. Like, if I knew more about NFTs, I could have so much more money by now. Yeah, but if you sit and think about that all the time, like, did you have time or energy to do that at that time? Would it have worked? Because you're only looking at the success stories, or are you looking at the people who maybe just didn't have the best chance, or maybe just cut even? Like, there's so many different ways you can look at different things. The only thing I would change, I would buy a lottery ticket every week. But that's like a funny thing. I don't really think of anything different that I would have done. I still would have like done the voluntary departure thing at my communication job. I still would have moved. I still would have moved the other time. Like, I was like, I know there's one date that I would have changed.
Which one?
Oh, let me see. When I had a major car accident.
Oh, yeah.
I would have loved for that not to happen, but everything happens for a reason. So, okay. I'm going to wing it with you, by the way, because I don't have any questions. So, Eve.
Yeah.
When you were 18 years old, in yesteryear.
4 years ago.
Yeah, 4 years ago. What did you aspire to be?
So I'll preface that when I was about 2 years old, because Sarah has to hold up the numbers because I've had a lot of concussions. But at the age of 2, I wanted to be a blue doctor.
Yes.
I had I would say an obsession with the color blue.
100%.
So much to the fact that when my mom asked me what I wanted for Christmas, I said a blue present, and she asked what did I want in it, and I said I don't care as long as it's in a blue box.
Yes.
So at 2, I had this like blue doctor outfit, like it was like the baby scrubs.
Yes.
I don't know if mom made them or she just bought them.
I'm pretty sure she made them.
Didn't know what blue doctor I wanted to be. Just made sure that I had to wear blue.
Yes.
Which, fun fact, is pretty much every hospital, everybody wears blue. So not really that big of a jump. And then I'd say about grade 1 or 2, I was like, I want to be a vet.
Yes.
Specifically with like, I loved farm animals and I wanted to be with farm animals. And then about the age of like 8 or 9, I found out that a lot of vets had to put animals down. So that got scrapped right away.
Really, putting your hand directly up a cow's ass wasn't a deterrent for you?
No.
Oh, interesting. Okay. That's very true.
And then I say about after I decided that I didn't want to be a vet, I was like, I want to be a nurse.
Yes.
And then that continued on until I was about 14. And then I was like, I want to be a pediatric nurse because I love children.
Yes.
And then when I was 17 applying for college, I got waitlisted from the nursing program, which still a little hurt by that because not to brag, my fucking grades, I had a 98% average.
Yeah.
And I had a 4.0.
Yeah.
Which, like, in Canada, you can't get higher than a 4.0. I just want to preface that because in America, you can.
Yeah.
I got waitlisted and I was like, fuck, I don't know what I'm going to do. And then my little brother's preschool assistant was still in connection with my mom. Wonderful lady. I won't say her name, but wonderful lady, and was talking to my mom about kind of my situation. And I always wanted to be in healthcare. Injuries were very prone to me, so me and the physio team and many different clinics that I had to go to were besties. And she had talked to my mom about, like, she was working in an assistant role and had talked to her about it and was like, hey, like, maybe she should think about, like, going into this. Because I was like, I don't want to do, like, a bachelor's degree in like sciences or stuff like that, and then like end up not liking like physio school. So like basically in Canada, you have to take a bachelor's degree and then you take like a master's in physio. So anything that you do as a bachelor's could be like pretty much anything, I think. It's helpful to do like health sciences or like something in the field. And so I did the assistant program for 2 years. My college and everything was kind of definitely changed my plans with COVID, the panorama. And I was like, no, I'll be like at 18, I was like, I will be satisfied being this. I feel like this will be really good. School came really easy and stuff. And I'm still doing it 4 years later.
Yeah.
Which is baffling to think that I've worked at my job for almost 2 years. I changed my mind, but it was all in the same field.
Yeah. Outside, like, what kind of life goals did you have outside of career? Or do you still have now? I guess I should say.
Well, they're kind of now, but I had always thought about having like I wanted to work part-time in the hospital and part-time I wanted to own a cafe where I like had a specific program going for job experience for kids with special needs, especially like high schoolers, because I saw the benefit that it had when our brother did it. So I wanted to have a cafe where we could support that. They could learn how to do those tasks and like actually make a living wage for it. So I wanted to have that for a lot, like for a long time. And I love to bake, so that just came easy.
Oh, and she's good.
Oh, I am good. I did make Sarah's wedding cake.
Oh, and it was so good. And then yeah, the top tier stayed really well. I digress. I'm sorry.
Which fun fact, that was the only cake that her husband liked.
Oh, he literally was like, do you think Eve would make our wedding cake? And I looked at him, I'm like, that's a lot of pressure. And he's like, yeah. And he's like, oh, I don't care what it looks like as long as it tastes good.
So I was also 16. I was one of her bridesmaids. And
Yeah.
I was doing, I'm going to say what my thought process now, because it's only been like a couple of years since 18. I always knew that I wanted to do something outside of my job. Kind of like what Sarah said, like, I don't want to live to work. I want to work to live. Because obviously working in the healthcare field is like very draining. As we can see through a lot of people, and I'm really glad that a lot of healthcare workers are like speaking out now of like, yeah, like I need to have a life outside of work. So I contemplated doing a bunch of things. I thought about being a wedding planner on top of it too. Making cakes for people, doing that type of thing. I'm very much the person who likes to have my hand in a million jars. And then like when I can't relax. I say that I'm allergic to relaxing because I'm allergic to lavender and peppermint, which is like the two most calming things. And yeah, so that's what I thought. Like outside of like work, which I realized that I just talked about work and working. I guess it's still achievable now, but I thought that I would be married by 26 and that I would have my first kid by 28.
That's a realistic timeline.
Which, like, I still have, like, 4 years. Like, I was like, well, I wanted to have a couple of years to build my career. I wanted to make sure that I felt comfortable in myself before I entered a relationship.
Oh, my God. How mentally stable of you. Thank you, Gen Z.
Because, like, I just remember, like, obviously I've seen my older sisters grow up and stuff. And the kind of games that people like to play.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And I'm very much like, well, I want to make sure that I feel like this is the point of my life where I can accept people and stuff, which I'm really glad that I made that decision at like, I think I was like 14. I was like, yeah, that's good.
Running so much more efficiently because I think I made that decision at 24.
Because like at 14, there was a lot of things that had like occurred. There was a lot of death in our family. Our dad had his first heart operation. And there was like the car accident that Sarah referred to in the band. But I was just like, you know what? I need to make sure that I'm stable and the situation's stable before I even like think about it. And so like that's my plan. We don't know if that plan's gonna happen. But yeah, that was kind of my gist.
You missed the best part though. What? Let's talk about property. What do you want to do?
Ooh.
Eve?
Property. I have always wanted to have a rancher with a porch and a porch swing. Specifically with a blue door, black shutters, and a white house. Not too big though, because I don't want to fucking clean it. So actually, I have 2 plans of property.
Yeah, I was like, there's another one.
Me and my best friend have another one, which actually might occur sometime. But that's what I envisioned with my kids, is having like a porch swing and stuff like that, and then having like a solid, like, I'd say like a couple acres. So that was my stable 1 and 18. And then me and my best friend found out when we were 19 that it's really cheap to buy a castle in like Nova Scotia. Our plan is that we were going to buy a castle, and that I was going to have the right wing and she was going to have the left wing. And we were going to get married, to like have our separate families and everything.
It'd be like a really fancy duplex.
Oh, hell yeah.
For the visuals that people need here.
And then in the center, we would have a like really big family dinner table where we would have all of our like Christmases and like, which sounds kind of like all of our holidays. And like, she said that she wanted to have Sunday dinners. You can tell that we're British. Have like all of those. And then, for a little visual, when you walk in, you would turn to the right, you would have the dining table, and you'd look up, there'd be stairs. And at the top of the stairs, there would be a huge library. But inside the library, there's a secret room that we would just sit and drink our coffee and talk about life. And it would be our hideaway spot from our children. But then our kids could like grow up together. We also discovered that then we would have to find 2 men who would like us enough that they would have to live with another family. That was pretty much our plan. Because I have an obsession with turrets.
Yes.
If you do not know what a turret is, if you look at the Steve Martin Cheaper by the Dozen, I think his name is Mark, who has this like circular room. And so a turret is a circular base that goes into like a point, like you see on castles.
They're usually on the corners of castles and stuff like that.
Which I have always wanted for a very long time.
Yeah, ever since I want to say you were like 7 or 8. You're like, look, it's a turret. It's a house with a turret. I want that house.
Literally constantly. Every time I saw one, I was like, turret, I need it. So that's what I thought my life would look like, even though it could still happen, but.
Right. Oh my God.
Sure.
You know what I totally forgot to mention, like within my thing? That I went to travel school. Like, this is before Expedia and like Hotwire and like all those other ones were out there where people were like comfortable booking online. 2007, I don't know, right around there. I found this course for the Travel Tourism Institute, and it was a legitimate course. It was taught by travel agents, other people who worked in the travel field, like folks who had either retired or were still currently acting as travel agents, flight attendants, ticket broker, stuff like that. So people who had worked within the tourism industry. And I specialized in travel. It was like travel advisor and hospitality management. So I did that, which is great because I used to work at a hotel. I was banquet serving, and that then allowed me to do like, I went to the front desk, which you can apply for, but I felt like I had a lot more information backing and everything going along. I spent $10,000 on it. And I don't use it now. So I always say,
you do use it. She's just really good at Jeopardy in those categories.
oh, I'm so fucking good at Jeopardy. And I have like lots of fun stories and stuff like that when it comes to when I worked in the travel and tourism industry. The travel agent stuff was kind of short. There was an interesting dynamic that went on, and it wasn't just like, it was more like age differences when it came to travel agencies and stuff like that, and the kind of respect that you would receive and the kind of stuff that you would be dealt. It would be just like booking simple tickets. Like they wouldn't allow you to book trips, even though you had like gone through this entire course and learned all this stuff. And you had to learn like an entire program. I chose to learn Apollo, which is like one of the booking systems. It's basically like MS-DOS, but with different commands. And yeah, so I did that for a bit. I had like what is it called when you go work someplace? And
Practicum.
Yeah, so I had like a practicum, and I did that for a bit. And then they hired me, and I was there for like a month, and I was like, I fucking hate this. Like, this is boring. Kind of like let it go from there. I still continued to like work at the hotel and did the front desk stuff, everything, until I changed jobs and was approached about applying at the communication company that I worked at for 10 years. So there were a lot of things that I learned in there. Like I learned management, like planning trip, the ins and outs of lots of things. So it was a lot of like even like project management stuff when you look back. But yeah, I'm really good at Jeopardy. There's random shit I just pull out of my ass all the time. Or I'll look at somebody and be like, did you get travel insurance? Everyone's like, travel insurance is a scam. And when people were booking trips, especially right before the pandemic and there was like looming stuff or anything before that, and then there were some people who were booking them during with the anticipation of being out of like lockdown and stuff, I was like, make sure you get travel insurance. Which I know some of the travel insurance places like defaulted and did not assist people, but a majority of them helped people out, or the airlines did. So this is your PSA. Travel insurance is actually worth it. If you get hurt in another country, it can cost a significant amount of money, especially if it's like the United States, or if they have to fly you back or anything, if it's not included with your benefits and stuff. So I feel like all of that knowledge has like helped me. But like when I did that, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to go on all these like trips where they get you to look at stuff, and I'm going to travel around the world and all of these other things. But yeah, I did that. I ended up going back to college too, like taking some like business administration courses. Like you could like do, it was like remote learning. You just submitted stuff online and you didn't have to go into class. Before it was called remote learning. And I did that, but I found it really funny because I did a class called business communications, and like they would ask us to write specific emails. So I would just take emails from work and change the names and like adjust the subject. And they're like, oh, these are perfect. And I was like, why the fuck am I doing this? I'm learning this all in real time. And I'm an applied learner person versus like a textbook learning type person. It could be the dyslexia. But yeah, I mean, like I've gone like in and out of there. Right now I'm like looking at stuff online, like courses and stuff to look into because, you know, new adventure. I want to look into like AI and stuff like shit that I'm interested in, shit that I'll sit and watch a TikTok on and be like, ooh, or like coding and stuff.
Just gets thrown to the back of the classes.
Yeah, just the back of my brain. That was like a whole lifetime ago.
You literally just asked me one question.
I know, but you had a lot of things that you followed up with that one question. How many times do you think you'll change your career in your life now that we have this as like a documented
thing? I don't know if I'll ever fully leave being an assistant. It's like one of the only places where I like feel like I have people around me who understand. Like I see a lot of things that nobody else in the family understands.
Yeah.
So for preface, I'm the only person in the medical field out of my entire family, even extended family. There's always been a part of my brain that's always like, I can process things a lot faster, and at least that part kind of challenges me.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like right now you'll take on like side projects to do other things to like spark creativity and change that up and everything. Like you help somebody plan a wedding.
And like that was definitely like I think that was probably one of the coolest things that I've done.
I love doing event planning and shit like that.
Well, like I don't know if she'll ever listen to this, but like it was one of my colleagues. She had come to me and asked me to help with like, I think it started off with like, I knew like the music that she was going to walk down or something. Like I have a connection in my brain where I know exactly like the song. I hear like somebody talk about like sunshine and like my brain plays like Walking on Sunshine, or like a certain word does that. So I was talking to her about that, and then she needed help with like something else. I don't remember what it was, but it kind of spiraled into this, like, I was helping with, like, everything, and I was like, this is so weird, because to me, I immediately knew what needed to go, but, like, her and her fiance were like, oh my God, I never thought of that. Obviously, it is a challenge, because it's a lot of stuff to do in a short period of time.
Oh, yeah.
But, like, even the day of, it was just, like, I was constantly doing things to help, and, like, just constantly appreciated for things, which I'm not.
It's not like you need validation, but just getting some form of it is nice.
But even for like work, you don't hear it all the time. Like, I'm not saying that every time I see someone that I need to have them like pat me in the back, tell me that I'm the best person ever, but it was just like a time where people were like, I can't believe that I had that, like, the couple has someone in their life who cares this much. Yeah, like I would do anything for them. Like they're then like one of the best couples I've ever met. And every time she would like the bride was like, thank you so much for doing this, I was like, it doesn't feel like a job to help you, type thing. So I was like, oh, this is really cool. And then a part of me too was like, do I enjoy it because I'm doing it for someone that I like?
No.
I know that I like care about, want to make sure everything's perfect. And like if it was for a stranger, but I'd be like, oh God, type thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then I feel like the past couple of years without our dad has like changed my mind on a lot of things.
It's not like he added obligations either. Like, he was always, like, super supportive.
No, like he had quite a few surgeries, so like I was always very used to like caring for him and helping him with those certain things. And like by the age of like I think 13, I could name all of his medications and what all of them did, which like they weren't short names. And I was like very used to it, and I loved doing that. And I was like, if this is what I could do for a bunch of people, like I would love to do that. And like I've always been surrounded by like our brother's autism like assistant and resources. So
Like the OTs and stuff like that.
yeah, so I was like, that would be cool. I feel like I almost built my life around what I had already learned.
That's very true. You were like, so I liked all these things. I did all these things. And I did want to be a doctor. So I think all these things kind of line up.
I'm only 22. I feel like I got a bit of time. And as a lot of people have told me at the wedding, apparently I have my shit together. So
You do. You've had your shit together since the day you came out of the fucking womb.
oh, I was so like time crunch person that like sorry mom, I crawled back in so I could be born right at 5:55 p.m. And if that doesn't tell you how neurotic I am, that's pretty shit. And like even from like a young age, I used to hang out with like adults at like birthday parties.
And it's okay. Is there any advice that you would give your 18-year-old self? Just think, Eve graduating.
Graduating Eve was lost. The friendships that you have during this time are not important, and it's okay to say goodbye. This is not specific to my best friend, but a lot of the people I had connections with in high school, I found weren't sustainable. They were situational.
It's also like a great YouTuber that we've watched for years, Miss Remy Cruz, stated that friendships come in seasons. And that's okay because seasons pass and they may come back or they may not. But you had that journey with them and that is okay.
It's always so weird to talk to your younger self, because when I think about younger Maeve, even though it's only like a few years ago, I would only wear like my high school apparel.
Oh, you were sponsored by your high school, but you were also on every fucking sports team. So like basically you got an entire wardrobe for free.
Yeah. I would just say like it's okay, like take care of yourself. It's okay to just not be perfect all the time, which is kind of the stunt of perfectionist.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's what I would say to her. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I feel like it's weird now because you have a kid that like all the things that I would have said to younger self, I'm saying to her instead.
When someone goes, okay, so just like speak to your inner child, all I see is my kid who actually like, she looks like me, but there are certain characteristics that are completely different from me.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's the person I think of is like, if you're going to say it back to your inner self, or if you're going to look back and say that to the younger version of yourself, would you say that to your kid? No. So stop shitting on yourself, because that's what happens a lot of the time. It's like, if you would have done this, like, Sarah, if you would have applied yourself more, like I was told by every teacher, Sarah is so smart. She just needs to apply herself a little bit more. I was getting B's. In some cases, I was getting like C pluses, but on average, I was getting B's. I was applying myself. Why did I need to get A's? Oh, there's another thing I would tell my younger self. Grades don't fucking matter. You graduate high school, nobody goes, and what was your GPA when you apply for a job?
I was like, when you're applying for college, they do kind of matter.
Yeah, no, they do matter. But I mean, like, when people are graduating and they're getting degrees, as long as they passed is all that matters. Maybe one person will get like valedictorian or whatever, get speaker of the class and stuff like that. And that might give them like an additional advantage. But when it comes down to it, as long as you pass, you have your bachelor's of whatever, your master's of whatever. Outside of that, nobody gives a fuck. All they do is see that piece of paper and go, oh, okay.
I thought of the thing that our dad used to say that was only accept someone's opinion if you value it.
Yes.
So by valuing it, it's like valuing the person it's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So a good thing to know, and I think we'll talk about like Sarah and I's sisterly relationship is that there's certain things that I can say to Sarah that if it came from anybody else in the family would be a very different reaction.
Oh, like go fuck yourself?
No, like I can look at you and be like, okay, we need to sit down. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
Because that's just who we are. But like, say if like our other sister did it or like our mom did it, Sarah would be like, I don't know why everybody is just trying to investigate me. I'm fine.
I just like leave me the fuck alone. I feel like nobody actually takes their own advice though. Like people be dishing out some solid advice, and then you look back at things and you're like, oh fuck.
Is this a fucking hint?
No, it's not.
I forget half of my advice.
No, this isn't a hint. I notice stuff like that a lot. Like you'll see folks who will put stuff on, especially on like Line and stuff like that, and they'll say all this shit, and then you turn around and you look at it in a couple of years, and it's like, you didn't take your own advice, but that's okay. But it's like, but this is the advice. This is what you need to do. Blah 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 blah. Like I don't know.
I feel like this is a great time too to just make a solid fact of your 18-year-old self is not your current self, unless you're 18.
Yeah.
Then it is. But the aspirations that you had for the first 18 years of your life before you left high school, before you left college, life happens, shit happens that you really can't control. And that's okay. We just adapt.
I would like to state that your entire existence is not the game of life. The game of life is what the world wants you to do. But you don't have to do that.
Also, you don't need to get a second car if you accidentally get 10 sets of twins.
Oh my fucking God, that game. But that's the whole thing is like, you don't have to get married. You can just live with somebody. Oh, controversial. I know if you're older and you're like, whatever. You can just live with somebody. You can have kids with people. You can get divorced. You can do all of these things. But the one thing that you should always keep in mind is that you are as happy as you can be. And you are proud of what you're doing. And stop shitting on yourself.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to our TED Talk. And with that, we will always stay warped and twisted as ever. Peace. Peace.